last names for you all. Your students are very familiar with this. If you do Zoom for work, you might also be familiar, but we just want to make sure we have a little bit of security tonight, just making sure you have your first and last name if you don't mind, or if you are on an iPhone, if you can rename, that would be greatly appreciated. But I'm glad to see everyone. I am Ms. Potts. We will get started right on time to respect everyone's time, but we'll wait a few more minutes and let people get logged in, but I am happy to see everyone. Good evening, everybody. You all are coming in right on time. I appreciate you guys being here. Just a little housekeeping. I do, if we get through in time at the very end, if I finish talking before 7 o'clock, then I will open it up for questions. If not, there will be another opportunity for you all to respond with your questions for sure. There's a couple questions coming in, discussions about Academy. So Academy specifics would be a Dr. Danielson thing, but a general overall, I could answer general questions about some things, but specifics about academies, Dr. Danielson would be the person for that. So hi, everyone. We got a couple more minutes. It's nice to see everyone. All right, so it is 6 o'clock. I am going to get started because I wanted to be able to get as much accomplished in the next hour. We are going to still be letting people in, but we are going to get started. So I am Ms. Potts, and you all have heard and seen from me on the weekly letters. I'm happy to be able to see some of your faces. But we are going to start the lesson. So some of the students were able to join earlier today via CTLS. If they forgot, had something else to do, or were not able to get in for whatever reason, the information is posted always, like every week, in the CTLS classroom under the digital session. So if they missed anything and weren't able to join tonight, that's okay. All that information is in CTLS for them, all right? But I am Ms. Potts. If we have time at the end for questions, I'll open up. If not, there will be another opportunity for you to submit questions. I will be putting together an overall questions frequently asked document to send out to you all to answer some general questions. And so today I'm going to briefly touch on some of the points that we talked about with your students earlier today. And some of those topics were the student registration, which a lot of you are here to kind of hear about that. A little bit about transcripts, a little bit about the GPA, course rigor, and individual graduation plan. You might hear that term, we call it the IGP. Happy New Year, everyone. It's 2021. We have a new year and we have a new face in our Pope Counseling office. Ms. Sachs, who was responsible for students' last names A through C, she retired in December, and we have a brand new counselor, Shanae Watterson, who is going to take over, or is taking over Ms. Sachs' part of the alphabet, and she is covering the students whose last names are A through C. If you haven't caught on yet or you're new to Pope, the counseling office, we situate our students based on alphabet. So if your student's last name is A through C, then Miss Watterson is your point of contact. If your student's last name is D through HA, then Mrs. Patty De Silva is your student's counselor. Last names HE through MC is Leslie Shearstone. I'm Miss Potts, and I have students' last names MCD through SC. Miss Jamie Hamrick has students who are SE through Z. This year, we are lucky to also have a counseling intern, Holly Von Lincoln, who is with us some days of the week. To also make up the counseling department, we have a counseling secretary, Miss Wolf, our records clerk, Lisa Squire, and the social worker, Pam Kretzmer. All right. So I did send you all a document, the step-by-step guide, and I'm going to refer to that in a little bit, but I wanted to start out and address student course registration. So that's a hot topic in the spring for the next 4 years. The counseling office, we work really closely with our curriculum administration to really help students and families and teachers to have the information they need to make informed decisions moving forward as they go through high school. All course registration information has been posted by our administration. It is on the Pope website. If you haven't had a chance to look it up, it is on there. If you go to the main Pope website and you scroll down, there is an icon that says course registration information. Okay, so a lot of the documents, a lot of the things I referred to tonight can be found by going to the course registration information that is on the Pope website right now. 2 key dates for current freshmen. And as I've mentioned in my letters the last 2 weeks, there's 2 sections to course registration. There's core registration and there's elective registration. If you're new to Pope, I want you to know that core registration, you can think of it as the teacher recommendations, okay? So in order for your student to have their core recommendation, the dates are January 19th through the February 5th. The teacher should be talking to your students and to yourself about what they're recommending for that specific core area. For example, if I'm a 9th grade literature teacher, then in all of my 9th grade lit classes, I am going to be making a recommendation for that sophomore level lit class, okay? I'm telling you this part because between January 19th and February 5th, the teachers are going to be, they do it a little bit different. Each of them do a little bit different, but make sure that your student knows what they're being recommended for those core classes. So what are the core classes, you might be asking? The core classes are English, math, science, and social studies in terms of core registration. Some of you might be saying, what about foreign language? For Pope course registration, foreign language is considered an elective course, okay? So for core registration, it is happening from January 19th to February 5th. The current teachers are going to be making those recommendations. So with any specifics about those English, math, science, or social studies, the current teacher is the best person to reach out to for specifics with your student, okay? The next part of the registration is for elective registration. Elective registration is going to be happening for current freshmen on February 1st and February 2nd. Now, this is going to be where your student is going to have to complete a form, okay? I want to just let you know that I appreciate your flexibility ahead of time and all the flexibility that you all have had to experience and had to go through with your students for the last couple of months, okay? So this year for elective registration, the administration will be putting the elective registration document onto the Pope website under the course registration information, okay? But your freshmen will need to choose 5 electives on that document on February 1st or February 2nd. Some of the students asked a great question earlier. Is it going to be happening? Are we going to be making those choices when we're at school? And The answer is no, it's going to be on your own time, okay? I highly, highly, highly recommend that every family locates the registration FAQ document, prints that out, and reviews that with your student. That's the very first step on the step-by-step guide that I did provide for you and your family. And so if you have questions, please put them in the chat. If we have time at the end, we're gonna go through them, but I'd like to get through the meat of everything and then go to specifics later, okay? So if you have that step-by-step guide, you can make notes on it. That's yours. It's a tool to help you understand the inner workings of course registration in this individual graduation plan that we refer to as an IGP, okay? On that step-by-step guide, there are some live links that will take you to some of these websites that I'm referring to, okay? So it is a document that I hope that is useful for you and your family as you help your student plan for next year's classes as well as their junior and senior year, okay? If your student is a face-to-face student and was here yesterday in the building on Tuesday, they went to their AO first period and received a physical copy of their transcript. If your student is remote at this time or was remote yesterday, those physical transcripts will be available in the front office for you or your student to pick up with an ID starting January 19th. So if you would like to see that, all students received that in AO yesterday, but if your student is remote, they will be available in the front office beginning January 19th. If you ask why there's a delay, we just got to reorganize, re-alphabetize so that it's ready if you were to want to come to the school and pick it up. We're just getting it alphabetized so that you can pick them up in a couple of days, okay? What is on that transcript? There's demographic information on your student's transcript, student name, home address, their grade level, their 9th grade entry date, student birth date, the student CCSD, so their lunch numbers on there, a GTID number, which is a Georgia testing ID number, is on that transcript in the top part. There's also the overall weighted and unweighted GPA. Talk a little bit more about GPA in a little bit, but on the Pope transcript, your students see their overall weighted and unweighted, meaning every class that they have attempted, okay? Underneath the GPA is going to be total attempted credits and total credits earned, okay? So every class that they attempt while they're in high school will be counted on their transcript, whether they pass or fail. All attempted credits show up on the transcript. Final grades, the grade that is seen on the student transcript is the final grade that the student earns at the end of every semester. So students earn a final grade at the end of the fall semester, which is what is on the transcript right now. They will also get a final grade for all the classes that they're in at the end of the May semester as well. And it will continue every year that they're, or every semester that they're in high school. I was reviewing some of the questions that you all asked before when you put in your RSVP, and I wanted to address a couple of them. If your student earned a high school credit while in middle school, for instance, Algebra 1A, they get credit earned. The credit, it's not attempted credit, but they get credit earned because it is counted towards their overall credits that they need to graduate. But it does not impact their GPA. Okay, so that's why it's not under the attempted credits. It can be a little bit confusing, but just know that if your student earned credit while they were in middle school for their high school transcript, one, it should show up. If it doesn't, reach out to the counselor just so we can make sure and see if there's any mistakes, okay? But middle school credits are counted for credit earned, but do not impact a student GPA, okay? All right, so what is a GPA? I asked the students this earlier, most of them know what GPA stands for, grade point average. And so I want you all to understand also how a student can calculate their grade point average, because the Pope weighted and unweighted GPA that's on the transcript is an overall, it's a cumulative GPA. but a lot of your students are going to need to know how to calculate their core GPA depending on what their post-secondary plans are and which colleges your students might end up wanting to apply to in a couple of years, okay? And so the easiest way to describe the grade point average is your student is going to look at their numerical final grade. If your student finished last semester with a final grade of 90 to 100, that correlates to a letter grade of A. Your student made an A in that class. Every A from here on out, it is associated with 4 quality points. Now, this is for GPA calculations, okay? So if you're wanting to recalculate a student's GPA or understand what the student's core GPA is, this is how you're going to assign quality points, all right? So for every A that's earned, there's 4 quality points that is assigned to that. I'm not a math teacher. I am not a math whiz. I do not like math. So I do this handwritten, and then I go onto the GPA calculator that we have on our website. Okay, so just so you know, if I were doing this for myself and for my GPAs, I would have my transcript and I would write down 4 next to every A, 3 next to every B, 2 next to every C, 1 next to every D, and 0 next to every F, okay? So if your student, you can look here, if your student earned between an 80 to an 89, then that correlates to a letter grade of B, and every B gets 3 quality points, okay? Final grades of 74 to 79 are C, and there are 2 quality points associated with every C. If your student finished with a 70 to a 73, that equals a D, and that's 1 quality point. If your student finished with a 69 or below, it is considered a failing grade, and there are 0 quality points associated, okay? So what you'll do is you'll calculate all of the quality points, and you will divide that number by the total number of courses attempted. This one's easy for freshmen because the total number of courses attempted from last semester were 6. Your student attempted 6 half-credit courses last semester, okay? One other quick thing about transcripts. So these final grades are going to be on transcripts, but you'll occasionally, or you should be looking at parent view and student view at the different 6-week periods. You can think of those grades as your progress report or report card grades, okay? Those progress reports do not necessarily equal what the final grade is, okay? So the progress reports at the second 6 weeks of the school year, you can go into parent view, you can see what your student's grade is at that moment. That grades can still go up or down until the end of that semester, okay? So the different marking periods are more of a progress grade, okay? The transcripts are official legal documents. If you need a copy of like your students' grades, sometimes for insurance purposes, sometimes you can use the parent view or student view grade report. Occasionally they'll ask for an official transcript, and that can be requested through the counseling office. But a lot of times for insurance purposes, you can use the report card or the student view, parent view version of the student grades, okay? All right, so different types of GPA, I want you all to understand this. We talk about this all the time with our students, and it gets really confusing. But cumulative or overall GPA, that's the big picture. That is every class that your student has attempted while they were in high school. On the Pope transcript, you will see the overall or cumulative weighted and unweighted GPA. It's automatically calculated the way that the Cobb County School District system works, okay? So that one's done for you, okay? The reason why I say that this is important is because there are so many colleges that will consider your student for admissions based on their core GPA or a little bit different weighting, okay? So it's really, really important. Okay, actually, I thought that I was able to, if you are writing on my screen, I am gonna ask for you to stop. I'm gonna stop for just a second and see if I can delete. I'm not sure that I can. If you just made those marks on my screen, if you will please remove that Thank you. I am not sure how I can remove that, but I am going to continue talking. If that was you, please, please, please stop writing on my screen, because it's just going to confuse me. So your students need to know how to calculate that core GPA, which is most likely going to be the English, math, science, social studies, and foreign language. I showed the second session of students a great example of how to find how colleges calculate what they use and what requirements, and I can do that at the end if we have time, okay? But recalculating your core GPA, that's important. The other GPA that's really, really important is the HOPE GPA. The HOPE GPA is what might allow your student to get some financial assistance at an in-state Georgia college. And so you will want to know what your student's HOPE GPA is. The HOPE GPA is calculated by the Georgia Student Finance Commission and is accessed through your student's GA Futures account. There's a lot of accounts that everyone has. There's the social media, there's the school, there's the this, there's the that, there's all kinds of accounts, right? I recommend that you have some kind of spreadsheet where you keep up with these, okay? But the GA Futures account is something that you will need to, that your student will need to create on their own. All right, so, all right, here we go. I am going to maybe switch over. All right, so rigor, when and why to take honors and AP courses. The most important thing here is balance. We want you to talk to the teachers, we want you to talk to your students, and look at the overall big picture here. In life in general, we've got to balance. We have to balance lots of different things, and it's the same for your students and their schedules. I can give you scenarios of all the different kinds of scenarios, but we really want you and your student to really have these conversations and to really think about balance when your students are looking at rigor. Rigor is very important. We want your students to challenge themselves academically, but we don't want your students to put them in or to be in situations where they can't be successful, they're not enjoying anything, and they don't want to try to be a better student or to grow academically. And so I'm telling you firsthand that any honors and AP class is going to automatically require your student to do more outside of the classroom to be prepared and to be successful in those classes. So honors level classes are available. AP stands for Advanced Placement. Those are college level courses. And so we get questions a lot about which AP, how many APs, and all that stuff. There's not a blanket answer. It's what is your student interested in doing? What subject areas does your student want to challenge themselves in? And what are their post-secondary, goals and plans? And those things change. If you've already had a student go through high school, you already know this, but there's a lot of growth, which is amazing to watch in our students from their freshman year to their senior year, becoming young adults and, entering into our adult world. And so, help them grow and challenge themselves over the next 4 years in terms of this, of considering honors and AP classes. With this being said, when the core teacher recommendations happen, if the teacher makes a recommendation for honors or AP, and you all sit down and look at the overall schedule and say, there's too many of these or whatever, there's an opportunity for you to talk to the teacher. And if there is a true disagreement, there is a waiver that will be on the website for you to submit. Okay, but the big key here is looking at that overall picture. When your students' core teachers are making recommendations, it's going to be for that subject area only, but you all get to look at the overall big picture. All right. The other top big word here, phrase is individual graduation plan, also known as the IGP. So this is a document that is individual to your student, and it is a plan. It's not registration. It does not replace registration, and it is not going to, what your student puts on the IGP or individual graduation plan is not what your student is registered for, okay? And so I want that step-by-step guide to help give you information to help plan for 4 years, okay? There's some things that you and your student are gonna need to do sooner than later for elective registration and core registration, but this IGP is a document that you all can print out and you can have at your home and kind of look through the course catalog, look at the curriculum flow charts, start researching those post-secondary options and what those specific requirements might be that you might need to fit in here or there, okay? But this is a really, really powerful planning tool if it's used correctly, okay? But I do want to stress that the individual graduation plan is one, a plan, and it is not registration. And what they do put on this plan is not what your student is registering for, okay? But it is to kind of look at all of these things and keep it all together, okay? Looking at the big picture. Your student will need to earn at least 23 credits to graduate. I asked the students earlier, I was like, are these all weight training and team sports classes, or are they specific? And most of them knew that there are some specifics in this 23 credits that they will have to take. And we'll talk a little bit about that when I open up the IGP for you to see how it will be completed. Before I can open that up, there are videos in every section of the IGP that explain how to complete that section and what is required for minimum graduation requirements, okay? So these are graduation requirements set by the Georgia Department of Education. It's not a Laura Potts requirement. It's not a Pope High School or a Cobb County School District. This is a minimum high school graduation requirement set by the Georgia Department of Education. And I've mentioned this a couple of times, but there are colleges and universities that have admission requirements that may be different than your high school graduation requirements. For example, the foreign language and the fine arts. I'm going to talk about that when we get into the document, but those two questions and those two areas are often mistaken and misunderstood. And I'm going to tell you that the best place for you to find information about what a college or university requires for admission is that specific institution's website. Those things change over the years, but I can show you an example if we have time today of how to search to see what those admission requirements are, okay? So I'm going to now open a different document. I'm going to show you all the individual graduation plan. So, okay, do you all see a Word document on the screen? Okay, so this is the student individual graduation plan. There are two places where this is currently located. This is a Cobb County form, and I'm working on trying to get it on our website, but because of permissions and some of the things, I've got to work through tech to get it there, okay? But right now, this document is in your student's CTLS resource library. It's also in the student Naviance account. I am working really hard and as quickly as I possibly can to also have this out to you all in the parent Naviance accounts. I have not sent out parent Naviance or 9th grade parent Naviance codes yet because I'm working on the technical side of it getting out to you. I want you all to have access to those parent accounts with also important information. But in the meantime, your student has access to this in their student Naviance account, okay? And on their CTLS resource library. The videos that I was referring to, if you see the blue over here on all the sections, if you click on any of the blue highlights, it is a hyperlink that's going to take you to a video. You might recognize my voice on some of those videos. I didn't complete all of them because this is a district-wide thing, but you will hear my voice on some of them, okay? So after today, if you want to pull up this document and say, how is my student supposed to complete the English section of their 4-year plan? Where do I even begin? The first place to begin is right here, clicking on that English video and listening to their quick, minute videos that talk about each section, okay? So in order to help support your student, I just want to show you that your student will enter their name. There is a drop-down menu. This is a district form, and so all the high schools in the district are here. You'll choose Pope. The video of why or how to complete your IGP, there's a video here and why it's important, okay? Looking at your student's transcript, you can start with those middle school credits. Your student may have earned Spanish 1 credit in middle school. You can indicate that here and move over to the totals, okay? For the English section, I'm trying to quickly go through these things so we'll have time at the end, hopefully, for questions, okay? But for the English section, so your student will have this document and there's a drop-down menu. All of the freshmen are in 9th Lit, so that's easy. This 9th grade column is gonna be an easier one because your students are gonna enter the classes that they're currently enrolled. So for me, I'm a 9th grade student. Laura Potts is in 9th grade. I'm in 9th Lit and I'm taking regular Lit. It's not my strong point. It's okay because it is what it is, okay? Next year, students for Lit are gonna be taking 10th Lit or Honors Brit Lit, okay? 11th grade year, all students are gonna be taking American Lit at Pope High School. It'll be on level, honors, or maybe AP. The 12th grade, the fourth English class, there's a couple of different options and it kind of changes. So I just put 4th English here, okay? But there's 4 English classes that your student has to take. 2 specifically are 9th Lit and American Lit, okay? And you'll see the total here. If you're asking, how am I gonna know what the course offerings are, what the flow charts look like, I'm gonna show you, okay? I'm gonna make sure you know where that information is that's specific to Pope, okay? I just want you to see how this document works. For math, every student has to earn a full credit of Algebra 1, a full credit of Geometry, a full credit of Algebra 2, and 1 additional math credit. So everyone must have at least 4. A lot of your students came in with an algebra credit or might be an accelerated math pathway and are likely to end with more than 4. These are the minimum, okay? So this document is just really kind of making sure that you're meeting minimum requirements, okay? The math flow chart might be one of the more confusing, but it is it's color coded, and I'll show you how to make sure you understand to navigate the flow chart for math, okay? For science, all students have to have a full credit of biology. So if your student is currently in biology, then they're going to enter biology here under the 9th grade, okay? If they're currently in biology, then next year, the class is going to be the teacher is going to recommend your student for chemistry or environmental science, okay? So let's just say that's the path, okay? So maybe they're in bio now and they're going to go to environmental next year. So it's chem or environmental, okay? And then for the junior year, it's physics or physical science, all right? So I put physics here just because that's what I'm gonna do or what I think that I'm gonna plan to do my junior year. But again, the junior year will be physics or physical science. If your student took physical science for high school credit in middle school, then they'll take physics, or we need to talk to them individually before their junior year to see what their science plan is, okay? And then their 4th science, there are lots of different options depending on your students' post-secondary plans and what your students' interests are, okay? Astronomy is one of the more popular senior science classes, but your student has to have 4. Let me give you one other example. Let's say your student is currently in environmental science right now, then next year they are going to have to take biology, okay? So biology happens freshman or sophomore year, okay? All right, social studies. This is another area that gets very confusing for students and for families. If your student is in world geography, honors world geography, or AP human, that is considered an academic elective. The state of Georgia requires that every student takes world history, US history, and government economics. So the required social studies start the sophomore year, okay? So your student is gonna have world history. They can look at what their teacher recommends them for down here for the level. Then junior year is gonna be US history. Senior year at Pope High School, students take a semester of government, a semester of economics. The magic number at the end of the social studies is right here at 3. Hang on, I'm gonna tell you where that honors world geography or AP Human is gonna go, okay? It does count, but it's not in the required social studies category, okay? All right, so the next section here is gonna be the world languages, fine arts, and career technical and agricultural education classes. So in this category, says electives fall under different categories, okay? The languages that are offered at Pope High School are French, German, and Spanish, okay? So if your student, so those are world languages, okay? Fine arts or performing arts classes are very specific. If your student's in band, chorus, orchestra, music appreciation, and if you're trying to take notes, I'm gonna show you a cheat sheet that has all of these electives identified in their categories, okay? But there's fine arts and then there's CTAE, all right? Your student to graduate high school, 3 of the electives they take in the next 4 years, at least 3 of them have to fall under one of these categories, okay? If your student is interested in going to a 4-year college, as soon as they graduate from high school, they need to plan for at least 2 years of the same foreign language, like I have listed here. That's if your student, if the plan is 4-year college right out of high school. There are some out-of-state schools, including the University of Tennessee, that ask students to have a fine arts credit, okay? Now that's a college admission specific requirement, not a high school graduation. Your student can graduate high school in the state of Georgia with having 2 years of a foreign language and then taking culinary, okay? So 1 year of Spanish, 2 years of Spanish, and culinary. Those are 3 classes that fit in this category for your student to graduate from high school, okay? Some of your students are gonna take a foreign language all 4 years. Some of your students might want to take band, chorus, or orchestra all 4 years, and that is perfectly fine. They can put that in their plan here, okay? Once they get to 3 credits in this category, anything else is gonna fill into this bottom part, the additional electives, okay? But there are some specifics, and 3 of the elective credits have to fall into these categories, all right? Another part of the electives, every student in the state of Georgia must take health and personal fitness. Team sports and weight training do not satisfy this requirement. The coaches are going to encourage the athletes to be in the weight training, and that's awesome and great, but at some point your student must plan to take health or personal fitness before they graduate from high school, okay? So it is a class where health is 1 semester, personal fitness is the next, or it flip-flops, okay? So help them plan for what that is. To answer a question that was submitted before the meeting started, some students do take health and personal fitness over the summer. Anything that happens over the summer is a tuition-based course, $250 to $275 per section. So that would be $275 for health and $275 for personal fitness, okay? So you're hearing me say that I don't recommend that unless your student is trying to fit in other electives and do other things in their 4-year plan. A lot of students do, but it is going to be tuition, and it is something that you or your student will have to pay for, okay? And then the other 4 electives. So this category is where your academic electives are going to fall. All right, so the honors world geography, the current issues, the psychology and sociology classes, leadership, yearbook, those are academic electives that don't fall into those specific fine art, foreign language, CTAE category, okay? So anything else is going to be in this, this bottom section where you have to have at least 4. As I said earlier, most of your students are going to earn more than the minimum, and that is perfectly okay, all right? So the magic number at the end of health and personal fitness is 1. The magic number for minimum requirements at the end of the electives is 4, okay? So overall, a total of 23 credits, all right? So that is how that document works. Let's see here, I'm going to now show you where some of these curriculum flowcharts are. Maybe. All right, step-by-step guide. All right, so you've printed and reviewed the registration FAQ. Let's see here if it's going to allow me to show you all exactly what it sees when you do it. All right, so you can see this is the registration FAQ document that this document belongs to our administration, our curriculum office, but I am trying very hard to make the language that they use very similar to the language that we use, so it's less confusing for all parties involved, okay? So this is the registration FAQ document. If your student was at school face-to-face yesterday, they did receive a copy of this physically. It's also posted on the Pope website, all right? So you've got the registration FAQ, pay close attention to those deadlines. I recommend that you download the IGP document next, just as a tool as you're kind of working through all of these other resources, okay? I next would recommend that you open the flowcharts. All right, so these are flowcharts. This is all on the Pope website. Again, can you all see the screen that says curriculum flowcharts? I see some head nods. All right, cool. So curriculum flowcharts, you're going to choose which area you want to start with. Okay, I said that math might be a little bit more confusing just because there's a lot of different math classes and options. Okay, the best way to do this is to, again, identify the grade level. Okay, so you're a 9th grader. I'm a 9th grader and I'm in Algebra 1. Okay, so I'm a 9th grader. I come down here, I see Algebra 1. So I'll look at where that is pointing towards, right? I could get a recommendation for my teacher for honors geometry or just regular geometry for my sophomore year. Okay, then you're like, okay, well, what comes after that? Because Ms. Potts said I have to do Algebra 1, geometry, and Algebra 2 specifically in one other math class. So what are those? What's the sequence, right? So here's the math department put this together for you all. Okay, so after geometry, then your student could get a recommendation for honors algebra 2 or just regular algebra 2. And after that, depending on which level they get recommended for, you can see where the arrows point towards. Okay, now this is a lot of information. And course registration and planning for 4 years, you're not going to have all the answers at the end of my presentation, okay? But I want you to know that these resources are available for you to help answer some questions and to help your student understand what comes next and why and what happens at Pope High School, okay? For English, this one, just so you know, instead of it going horizontal, this one is like a vertical flow chart that the English department put together. But again, you can see the 9th lit, 10th lit if it's just regular prep, college prep classes, American lit junior year, and then they could either do advanced composition or multicultural. That was last year, or that's what the English department puts out. Okay, so that's how the flow charts work. Let me show you what's next on our step. Okay, so once you've been able to go through the flow charts, the students might be able to complete their IGP document at that point. You might want to go back to the elective registration form, but I'm going to show you what that is here in just a second, okay? So start with that English, go to each section, review those videos. They're really great videos to just give you a brief reminder of what's required and how to complete that section in the IGP, okay? Then you'll just move in order of the document, okay? The students, we talked about uploading their document in their Student Naviance account. I'm gonna follow up with students later in the semester to make sure that they've been able to do that. I've heard from some of you, how are the students getting this information? I'm the only one hearing it. Every week, this information is posted on the student CTLS classroom. It is posted on the counseling blog, and it is sent out to you. There is no way right now that I do not have the capability that the teachers do to send direct messages to our students the way that the teachers do. So I am thankful for your cooperation and your partnership in helping us all get this information to our students together. So I just want you to know that all of this information, there's 3 different places that you and your students are going to be able to view, okay? So then make note of the core teacher recommendations, and remember that balance, okay? Core teacher recommendations are from January 19th to January 5th for every student at Pope High School, okay? So the core teacher recommendations is for all students. So if you have a 10th or 11th grader, that's happening for all of them. All teachers are making recommendations from January 19th to February 5th, okay? If you have questions about those core recommendations, the student's current teacher is the best place to go to ask your initial questions, okay? What is the difference in these different classes and the levels? The current subject area teacher is the best resource for that to start, okay? And these teacher recommendations will include levels for next year, all right? The other thing is, if you don't want to ask teachers questions because they're bombarded with emails or you just want the information yourself, this is a link that takes you to the Pope course catalog. This course guide has a description of every single course that Pope is offering for the next school year, okay? It also has the graduation requirements. It talks a little bit about what I said about the foreign language and fine arts, okay? But if you want to know, let's see, what is geometry? Then you're going to go down here to the math. You can see the geometry, just regular geometry. Is there a prerequisite that's required, the grade level, and the full description of what that class is. Now, most of you might know what geometry is because most of you probably had to take geometry yourselves. But this is the course catalog for every class that Pope is offering for next school year. All right. And if you want to use the step-by-step guide, you can. You don't have to do anything with the step-by-step guide. This is solely for your purpose to help you and your student plan and get all of the stuff situated, okay? If you want to enter what those core recommendations are here, that's fine, or you can go back and update the student's IGP, all right? If there is a true disagreement between the teacher and parent regarding course placement, the registration FAQ has the information about when waivers will be available and how you will access them. So it looks like those waivers will be available beginning January 19th on the Pope High School website. That is not through the counseling office. We don't have them. I don't even know what they look like. But I'm telling you that if there is a true disagreement, it says that they will be posted on the Pope website, not the counseling blog, the Pope website. Okay. And for down to elective registration, all right, your student is going to look at the elective registration sheet. This is the elective registration sheet that is for 10th graders or for rising 10th graders, all right? So I told you I'd show you a cheat sheet of how you can see what electives and how they're qualified, if they're fine art, if they're world language, or what they are, okay? So here's a little bit of a cheat sheet. From business to computer science, engineering, graphics, culinary, broadcast, and ROTC. These classes right here are all considered CTAE, the Career Technical Agricultural Education classes, okay? The classes underneath world language, those are the foreign languages or the world languages that are offered at Pope High School, okay? So those are the only things that are counted as world languages that we offer. The classes that are specific fine art classes are listed right here under the fine arts section, okay? So students often think that this culinary art is a fine art. Just because it says culinary art in the name doesn't mean that it's a fine art, okay? So the culinary art is considered a CTAE, Technical and Agricultural Education course, okay? Fine art classes are listed here. So if your student is interested in the Big Orange, the University of Tennessee, and they're going to need to plan for a fine art, these are the options that they might have if they're not, if they're wanting to plan for that, okay? Physical education classes are listed here. academic electives that will be available for the 10th graders, and also pay attention to the application electives. So leadership, yearbook, and audio video 2. If your student's in audio video 1 now, they will have to submit an application for the audio video 2 class. And you ask about applications, I am going to refer back to this registration FAQ and show you exactly where on there the information is. On the registration FAQ, towards the middle to bottom, the application window is open now until February 5th for application courses. So for yearbook, the student will reach out to Miss Krista Bowen. For audio video, Coach Savvy is the teacher that they'll reach out to for those applications, and for leadership, it will be Coach Liedberg. Okay. Again, the registration FAQ has lots of good information for you. That is a document that our administration has created to help with lots of different questions. Okay. But when your student is looking at that elective registration sheet, what they're going to do, you can print this out if you want, or you can talk about it, but they're going to rank their electives 1 through 5. Every student's going to submit 5 elective choices. Your 9th grade students are going to be making those choices on February 1st and February 2nd. Okay. And they need to be ranked number 1, the most desired, right? Number 5 still needs to be a desirable elective, but you need to rank them in order in which you would hope for them to happen in your schedule if the perfect world exists. But you all are adults and you know that we don't live in a perfect world. And so the reason why why all students have to choose 5 is because there's lots of different things that go on with the master schedule. I made the example earlier. If your student has no interest in ROTC, then that student does not need to put ROTC on their elective registration at all. It doesn't need to be 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5, because it is likely that any of those 5 elective choices will show up on your student schedule in August. Okay, so if you want to know what is ROTC, well, what is naval science? That course catalog, if you search that, it's going to tell you exactly what it is, right? If you're like, oh, it sounds kind of cool, but I really want to know what is that class, the course catalog is going to help you and your students. So before February 1st and 2nd, talk to your student about what they want to take this upcoming year. Okay, rank 1 through 5. They're only going to get 2 of those, but it could be 1, 2, it could be 2 and 3, it could be 1 and 5, it could be 4 and 5, it could be 3 and 5. It just kind of depends on how the tumbling goes with the master schedule. All right. And so that is something that if we found that if students have thought about this and asked a couple of questions out loud with you or with their teachers beforehand, the elective registration goes much smoother. Okay. It doesn't go very well when students are trying to complete the form right, at the end of the day. They haven't thought about it and they choose things that they really didn't mean to or didn't know what they were choosing. Okay, so that course catalog is really going to be beneficial to help your students plan for the 5 electives that they want to take. All right, and so the one other quick little tutorial for you all. Pope website, all right, the Pope website. If you scroll down, there's an icon that says course registration information. That's what you're going to click on, and you will see there are rising 10th through 12th grade registration information. That is going to take you to the registration FAQ that I've referred to, the course catalog that was referred to, and the elective choices here. Okay. Over on the side, you can see there's the curriculum flowcharts that you can get to, and also the document for the graduation requirements. All right. So I am going to stop sharing my screen and look at my chat for just a second to see if I can answer some questions for you all. Questions that were submitted. If your questions, if I do not get to them before 7 o'clock, you can submit questions here. I will be creating a full document that will be coming out to you all. Actually, I'm going to keep my screen right there for you. I am going to look at the chat again, like I said, see if I can answer some of these questions for the next 9 minutes. And then if I do not get to your question, if you don't mind to submit that here in the portal, and I will be touching base with you all about the specifics that you have. All right, let's see here. Naviance login. So the Naviance, there is a Naviance how-to in your student CTLS account. And ask your student if they were able to get in today. But I will quickly show, or I'll show you quickly how to do that. How do we know what core classes our students are recommended for by the teachers? So yes, if you will ask the teachers, some of them are going to reach out to you directly. There's different ways that they do that, but you are welcome to reach out to your teacher, your student core teachers to find out what classes they're recommending your student for. I will be posting this video. You will have to give me a little bit to work through the technical stuff, but I will be posting the video on the counseling blog under the 9th grade section. That's the other part that I did want to show you all. Every letter that I send out to you, every letter and video that comes out to you is available on the counseling blog. All right, so if you're on the Pope website, you can click on curricular school counseling. It's going to bring you to our blog. If you look at the blog and you hover over academics and you click on 9th grade information, when we refer to it's on our blog, that's where it is. All of the things that I've sent to you all, they're here, okay? The documents and everything. I will be posting this on our blog. Great question. I'm going to pull back up that link. So if you do, our languages offered over the summer, only through Georgia Virtual School. Languages, you can take them. It is not recommended that you take a foreign language through Georgia Virtual and then come back to the building because there's a big gap in that. But Georgia Virtual does offer foreign languages in the summer. They are tuition. Let's see, how will you learn about teacher recommendations? You can reach out to those teachers beginning January 19th. Specific location to download the IGP documentation. Okay, so the student CTLS, I'm working on that. So that's a great question because I'm working on trying to make it accessible on the Pope website. It's just a county document, and so I'm having like rights issues with that right now. But I will show you that your student understands this language. So if they go to their Naviance account, or if you have them show you their CTLS counseling tile, if you go under resource library, the IGP document is under the CTLS resource library. How a student gets 1 or half credits on the IGP. So honors level courses do receive an extra half quality point, and AP courses receive a full extra quality point for the Pope GPA calculations. Colleges may or may not give extra weight.